CBS2 News at 11.
A rescue as a jet slides off the USS Constellation. A barrage of bombs on Baghdad. Fierce street fighting nearby as thousands of reinforcements arrive and our injured troops come home.
I'd rather be in Iraq with the rest of my troops.
A carrier accident, a rescue operation. Good evening, I'm Gretchen Carr in for Laura Diaz.
I'm Harold Green. Our top story on this Monday night, a rescue at sea off the USS Constellation, and bombing raids start to wear down Saddam's Republican Guard. Right now, it's 10 Tuesday morning in Baghdad. 12 straight days of bombing are weakening Saddam's elite forces around the city. We have expanded team coverage for you tonight from the Persian Gulf to the Southland. Let's begin with CBS 2's Linda Alvarez, the only Southland reporter live aboard the USS Constellation. Linda?
Well, Harold, it happened just a few hours ago. It was the worst kind of accident. A plane down in the water and 2 pilots had ejected. But the well-training of the Navy crew paid off and lives were saved. The alert flashed on the TV screens at 5:10 this morning. Man overboard.
An S-3 that went down in the water was one of our last planes. There was the last plane to come in for recovery this morning.
An S-3B jet like this one malfunctioned after it touched down on the flight deck. The plane went over the side and the pilots ejected into the water.
At that point, Lieutenant Zoka saw the wreckage and hovered over the wreckage, and we looked for the survivors.
The Golden Falcons helicopter squadron, that was featured in a report earlier this week, was on routine plane watch and flew to the rescue. Within 17 minutes, they had the 2 pilots out of the water and onto the flight deck.
When I got to the survivors, they were both kind of in shock.
Trained Navy diver Scott Wickland, still dripping in his wetsuit, told how he pulled them out of the water.
Well, I hoisted the first one up by because he was the most injured, and so I hooked him up to the hoist, and Patriot Diaz hoisted him up, and then I brought the other survivor over to the hoist, hooked him up, and he was also brought up.
The 2 pilots, still with their flotation devices on, walked out of the helicopter onto the flight deck. One was then carried in a stretcher to the emergency room for evaluation. But for these Golden Falcons, it was a successful first rescue with a bonus.
It's kind of in tradition that when a rescue swimmer rescues somebody, that they give them their patches. So when I was in the helicopter on the way back, one of the pilots gave me one of his patches, and he said he was going to return to give me the rest of them. So.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
Okay. Pretty proud of it, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I just found out that the pilots have no life-threatening injuries. As for the $27 million jet, it's at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. I'm Linda Alvarez reporting live from the Persian Gulf aboard the USS Constellation for CBS2 News.
Those pilots are safe on that ship, and that is what counts. Thank you, Linda. Now to the bombing raids and fierce fighting in Iraq. CBS 2's Juan Fernandez continues our team coverage live now from the newsroom. Juan?
Gretchen, tonight a torture chamber used by Saddam's eldest son is a target. It's part of the military's new tactic called probe and access. They want to see how far the Iraqis will go, and according to the latest reports, the Iraqis are fighting back hard.
Making way for the Battle of Baghdad, coalition warplanes continue to bombard the city. And within 50 miles of the capital, American troops fought heavy battles with Saddam Hussein's Republican Guard. Pentagon officials say Saddam's elite forces have been weakened significantly.
Once you start to take a certain percentage of a force like that down, particularly a mechanized or armor force, the systems start to break down.
The U.S. military also now telling us that Allied aircraft bombed a complex that serves as the office of the Iraqi National Olympic Committee. And according to Iraqi dissidents, a torture center run by Saddam Hussein's eldest son, Odai. Odai apparently tortured Iraqi athletes who offended him there. No word if Odai was inside at the time. Still tonight, leaders remain defiant.
We shall turn our desert into a big graveyard for American and British soldiers.
Even the Pentagon warns the most vicious fighting is still ahead. South of Baghdad, the Muslim holy city of Najaf is considered essential to protect coalition supply lines. Some American casualties were reported there during fierce block-to-block fighting. Iraqis dressed as civilians opened fire and killed one soldier. U.S. commanders wanted to avoid fighting inside Iraqi cities like Najaf. The fear was killing civilians and destroying areas of religious significance to Muslims. But resistance has been tougher than expected, so the fight shifted into urban neighborhoods. Meantime, British paratroopers have been swooping down on supply roads, setting up impromptu checkpoints, and looking for the enemy, especially the feared Fedayeen.
Let's go! The main threat is from these insurgent-type elements that you've heard of, the Fedayeen, moving around in civilian-type vehicles, dressed as civilians.
Also today, U.S. troops killed at least 7 Iraqi civilians, some of them children. They were inside a car. That car was ordered to stop by a coalition force at a checkpoint, and when they didn't stop, they were fired upon. In the newsroom, I'm Juan Fernandez, CBS 2 News.
Juan, thank you for that. Here at home, friends and family are remembering a fallen hero. Catherine Blake continues our team coverage tonight from Duarte.
They are in agony over the loss of their son, but tonight Martha Martinez and her husband are surrounded by more than 200 people who came to their home in Duarte to support them.
Prayers are with them. You know, this is a tremendous loss. You know, it's unimaginable.
Francisco Martinez Flores is one of 3 Marines from 29 Palms who were killed in action last week in Iraq. At first, the 21-year-old was listed as missing in action after the tank he was in plunged off a bridge during a nighttime sandstorm. But last night, his family received confirmation that his body had been found.
Él tenía muchos sueños. Muy valiente.
So courageous. My son was so courageous, Mrs. Martinez said earlier today. One of his high school friends agrees, saying Francisco always wanted to go into the military.
He did.
So it was something he wanted to do?
Yes.
Why was it important to him, you think?
Just to serve his country.
Many people at this candlelight vigil had a difficult time just looking at Francisco's pictures, but amidst all the tears, there were happy stories, like the one his younger brother told an Eagle Scout leader.
He even told us a couple weeks ago that his brother, Francisco, has been sending us, send chapstick. So we made sure we have that on our list of things to collect for him.
Despite her son's courage, Martha Martinez says she wants the war to stop. She doesn't want any more candles to be lit in honor of any more fallen heroes. Francisco's family says he died just 2 weeks before he would have received his U.S. citizenship. They are hoping he will still receive that honor in death. In Duarte, Catherine Blake, CBS 2 News.
This war was cut short for 15 soldiers who arrived back in the U.S. today so that doctors could tend to their injuries. CBS 2 reporter Jennifer Sabi joins us now with the war wounded. Jennifer.
Gretchen, each has a wound and a story on how he got it. And for their service today, 10 Marines stationed at Camp Pendleton got Purple Hearts. They are among the first 15 soldiers that have come home.
With his Purple Heart pinned on his blue-checked shirt, Camp Pendleton base Marine Joel Norman is among the first Iraq war wounded to set foot back on American soil. But not all those who arrived today at Bethesda Naval Hospital could set foot, literally.
I couldn't get up because my legs hurt too much. I was afraid to look at my legs.
Lieutenant Gian Amarcello was with the 101st Airborne when a grenade was thrown into his tent, allegedly by an American soldier. Lieutenant Colonel John Ewers from Camp Pendleton was in a Humvee in southern Iraq, scouting for the father of an injured Iraqi boy.
I don't like to say we got ambushed because we were expecting contact, but we kind of got ambushed.
When the smoke cleared, Ewers had been shot in both arms and one foot, his left arm broken. His wife, Lori, can't say she's broken up. He's back.
Lynn, it's wonderful. I mean, if you really want me to be honest with you, and he looks a lot better than I thought he would look.
But the Marines seem less upset about taking the bullets than being taken from the battlefield.
As long as 1st Marine Division's over there, then I want to go back over there.
I've got a squad out there to lead, and I've got a squad out there to protect. And I promised them that I'd bring them all back alive, and now I'm not there to make sure that promise is kept.
And today's was just the first wave of injured. More are expected to arrive at the hospital at Bethesda next Monday. I'm Jennifer Sabi, CBS 2 News.
Jen, thank you for that. Relatives of troops fighting in Iraq are finding it very hard to find out just how their loved ones are doing. So military wives are banding together to share their information. CBS 2's Lisa Siegel joins us live tonight from Vista. Lisa?
Well, it is very hard for family members to get information from overseas. Many times the telephone is just not available. When a commander calls and sends a message, there is a group of military wives who are getting that message out. On a quiet street in Vista, where children play and red, white, and blue paint the landscape, there is a briefing going on.
All right, girls, here's some news.
Here there is no commanding officer, and children are still first priority.
You guys go find Patrick. He has baseball.
This scene is being played out in hundreds of homes across the country. These 3 women are key wives. While each of their husbands are overseas, they are overseeing the spouses left behind.
We coordinate, communication and information and activities for the families. For the spouses and families that are home. This one's a little more upbeat. Email from the CO 2 nights ago said everybody's alive and well and performing admirably.
The women's work lately seems to be passing on information, each one talking with dozens of people every day, mothers and fathers, husbands, but mostly wives.
I've been through many deployments. I know that there are young wives out there who are inexperienced, and I feel like I can be a bit of hope for them.
My daddy beating a bad guy.
It's not easy trying to give support when yours is gone. But these wives tell me their husbands have a job to do, and so do they. And the good news, out of the 400 Marines in these wives' unit, there has not been one casualty. In Vista, Lisa Siegel, CBS 2 News.
Thank you, Lisa. Is the coalition just hours away now from moving into Baghdad? It is 10:11 in the morning in Baghdad. Coming up next, a CBS exclusive, our military expert, retired Marine Brigadier General Art Bloomer, looks at what could be next in this war.
A knock at the door and the Marines tell her son has been killed in the war. That was 32 years ago. Tonight she's still talking about the pain, and I'll have her story coming up in a live report.
And could big SUVs soon be parked permanently?
Harold, smoking weather today, but there could be some rain down the road. Your forecast is right around the corner.
A jet slides off the USS Constellation. Here is the latest. That plane fell into the Persian Gulf. The 2 pilots ejected and they were rescued. Inside Iraq, U.S. troops kill 7 Iraqi women and children when soldiers opened fire on a van that failed to stop at a checkpoint. The Pentagon says members of Saddam Hussein's family and senior Iraqi officials have tried to flee the country.
Thousands of bombs fall, reinforcements are heading in, and an accident on the Constellation. Our military expert, retired Marine Corps Brigadier General Art Bloomer, here to talk about that and more. The Pentagon said today they're trying to get the Republican Guard south of Baghdad down under 50%, meaning we are going to bomb them as long as we can and soften them up, if you will.
That's right, Harold, and apparently we've done a lot of that to this Republican Guard division here, the Medina division, which is normally located to the south. And this one up here, this is the Nebuchadnezzar division, normally up around Saddam Hussein's hometown of Tikrit. But there are elements of it now that are moving down here, we think, to reinforce the Medina division, which has been severely pummeled by our airstrikes here recently.
And now, for the first time in quite a while, we see reinforcements coming in the 4th Army, the 4th
Infantry Division. Yes, that's right, Harold. As you know, they were supposed to come in up here through Turkey, but of course we couldn't do that. Now they're offloading their ships. There's 30-some ships down here. They've got about 14,000 pieces of equipment on there. They've got the tanks, they've got the Bradley fighting vehicles, they've got Humvees, they've got artillery pieces, and as you can see, they're going to be able to reinforce and actually maybe even do a separate operation. They've got fresh equipment, equipment that has not yet been used or damaged by any of these sandstorms that the 3rd and the Marines in the 101st have had.
The elements are taking their toll on that equipment, as you were telling me earlier. Now, how about the 101st? They appear to be going into cities now, into Najaf, if you will.
That's right.
And is this what they'll be facing in Baghdad, this kind of action?
Well, I think we wanted to avoid that if we could have, but apparently there were so many dissidents, the Fedayeen and other paramilitary, that they've actually had to go into the town and do house-to-house fighting. But you know what, Harold? It's been a lot more successful than a lot of people would have thought. We've had very, very few casualties doing that. In fact, this is the 12th day of the war, and we have lost less than 100 people total.
And we don't know the casualty rate on the other side. The Pentagon seems reluctant to give out that information. It was asked today, and they said, well, we can't give you an exact count. So we don't know, but we have to assume that our forces are, in fact, stacking up casualties on the other side.
We know that's the case, Harold. We know a pretty good handle on the number of prisoners that we have. You know, that's over 4,000.
Sure.
And there have been battles where we have killed as many as 300. We know that. And it's very hard to estimate since we don't have the same intelligence that they do as the number of killed.
General, you have flown off a carrier, and Linda Alvarez showed us at the top of the broadcast the accident on board the Constellation. Those are tight quarters those people are operating in.
Very tight, Harold. That landing area is pretty small. They say it looks like a postage stamp. We don't know exactly what happened to that plane when it came in. It was an S-3 Viking, but used mainly, I think, now for air refueling the fighter airplanes, but it can also be used as an anti-submarine airplane. If it made a landing and stopped, maybe had brake failure or slid off the deck, wet deck, could have been a number of things that have happened.
Okay. It's remarkable with all the sorties they fly that one plane gets our attention when it falls off the ship.
It does.
Thank you. Gretchen, back to you.
Harold, General Bloomer, thank you. It is something that no mother wants, to be a member of the Gold Star Mothers of America. CBS 2 News reporter Sandra Mitchell joins us live from Long Beach with the story of this special group of women. Sandra.
Gretchen, we are just outside Gold Star Manor. This is an apartment complex that was built especially for women who lost a son or daughter in the war. Well, decades of peace mean there just aren't many of them around anymore, but tonight we did sit down and talk with one Gold Star mother.
This is my son, Lance Corporal Gregory Davis.
32 years have faded the picture, but not the pain.
It's like it was yesterday. It doesn't seem that it's 30 years. Just doesn't seem it.
Betty Freeman remembers the day she sent her son off to war and the day she realized he wasn't coming home.
It's two Marines. They come to the door. They ask you to sit down. You sit down. You know what they're there for. You just sense it.
It was 1971. Her oldest son shot down in a helicopter over Vietnam.
Typically in a warplane, you use Tomahawk cruise missiles at the beginning.
Now, with the United States at war again, TV News is her companion. And with every American death, she feels pain for another mother.
This is the cape that we wear.
But Betty Freeman told me she doesn't sit and cry. She's an active member of Gold Star Mothers, 1,200 across America of this group they never hoped to join. Mothers who've lost sons and daughters in war. In a few months, Freeman told me she'll contact the mothers of the men and women killed in the war with Iraq, and they will unite in patriotism and in sorrow. Gold Star Mothers do their patriotic part all year round. They visit the Vietnam War Memorial in Washington. They also visit veterans and hospitals. And as you've probably noticed, they do march in a lot of parades. We're live tonight in Long Beach. I'm Sandra Mitchell, CBS 2 News.
All right, thank you, Sandra. Talk of war has become a hot topic of debate at a local community college. Some feel the vice president of Irvine Valley College has gone too far. Dr. Dennis White issued a memo last week asking teachers not to discuss the war unless it was in context of the class they were teaching. White says that he did it after several students complained that some teachers were expressing their own personal anti-war views instead of teaching class.
It's not fair that I have to sit in a class and listen to that when it has nothing to do with astronomy.
If it's done within the context of a political forum and so forth that's appropriate, then I think that's fine. If they're voicing their personal opinion that have nothing to do with the context that's being explored in the classroom, then I think it is not appropriate.
The school's president says the memo is, quote, unofficial and merely a guideline, not a ban on free speech. And stay with CBS 2 News and CBS News for continuing coverage on Operation Iraqi Freedom. We will have a complete update later in this newscast.
Security scare in downtown Los Angeles tonight. Closed city streets and even part of the 110 freeway for a short time. You can see the problem from Chopper 2. This U-Haul truck was left unattended near a downtown high-rise. With the nation on orange alert, the LAPD's bomb squad was called in to investigate, but turned out it was all a big misunderstanding. When police opened up that 40-foot truck, all they found inside were movie props.
Big mistake, big scare. You know what? May not seem like it, but rain is on the way. Byron has the answer for you coming up.
And he's been away for weeks. Now David Letterman back on The Late Show right after this newscast.
Big SUVs apparently are losing their luster. A study by Kelley Blue Book shows the war in Iraq and the high cost of gas are forcing SUV drivers to rethink their next car purchase. Overall, their favorability is down 5% from the last poll in January. 4 out of 10 SUV owners say now they'll take a closer look at the smaller crossovers before buying their next vehicle.
That's good, because what you really needed today was a mini convertible to tool around town in.
Put the top down, right?
That's right.
Right, Gretchen? You got to keep the top down when you have some smoking weather like that. We're looking for cooler weather and maybe even some rain. Harold told you already we could see some rain down the road, so we'll talk about that. We'll give you the 5-day forecast, and cooler temperatures look like they're in store for us. Right now, we're looking outside. Your high today was what? 89 degrees. That is 1 degree off from the record. 90 is the record for this date. The sun set at 6:13 p.m. Your average for this date is 71 for a high. Let's move on now. You don't need a jacket if you're in the valley. 66 degrees in Burbank, Encino, and Sherman Oaks. 66 also in Ontario. High 50s in Riverside. Low 60s from Long Beach. And then if you go up to Santa Monica, 3rd Street Promenade, checking in at 61. High 50s in Oxnard. You need a sweatshirt there. Satellite loop now. Yes, there are clouds north and west of us. This is a frontal system that will bring clouds over our area. It looks like tomorrow afternoon we'll have some clouds and then maybe a slight chance of rain. Currently across California, Eureka, now through Lake Tahoe, maybe seeing some upper elevation snow, and Oakland getting ready to see some rain. So the Bay Area will have rain in the forecast definitely over the next 24 hours. 58 will be the low at 5:56 in the morning. That's when the sun rises. That's when the low occurs in Rancho Cucamonga. 34 in Lancaster, 60 in Palm Springs. Your highs look like this. We're going to go right through it and show you 70 downtown LA with a slight chance of rain tomorrow night. Your 5-day outlook is calling for a chance of rain tomorrow and a chance of rain Friday and Saturday. The best chance for rain will be Friday and Saturday. Your high tomorrow will be 71 degrees, so it's going to be much cooler than it has been.
Yeah, 71, not too bad, my friend. Thank you. Big Monday night in sports.
Jim Hill here with a preview.
Gretchen and Harold, the action was hot and heavy. Opening day Major League Baseball, a great one for the Dodgers in Arizona. And in the NBA, the Lakers bounced back from last night's loss with a sizzling performance against the Grizzlies. Highlights and post-game reaction is next in sports.
Jim, I don't think if the Grizzlies suited up Jerry West, it would have made any difference tonight.
It would have been a little closer, but not much, that's for sure. It's now or never for the Lakers with 9 games left in the regular season. They're still in 7th place in the West and facing a possible first-round matchup against Sacramento. Lakers at home tonight taking on Memphis, and Shaq was in his usual seat. First quarter, the Lakers are running, and Shaq finishes off the fast break with a slam. The Lakers led by 14 points at halftime. Third quarter now, Memphis cuts it down to 6, but Kobe answers with a sweet drive and a sensational lay-in. It's an 11-point lead after 3 quarters. That's really amazing, isn't it? Now, the fourth quarter is all Lakers. First, it's Shaq with the drive, slam and the foul. He led all scorers with 34 points. Then the big fella finds Kobe with a beautiful no-look pass. Kobe slams it home for 2 of his 29. Lakers won it 110-94. They trail Utah by a half game for the 6th spot in the West.
We just did what we were supposed to do tonight. You know, we're supposed to beat a team like that.
I could seriously go 0-0-0 across the board. As long as you win the game, I'm fine with it. Obviously, I have to contribute a little bit in order for us to be somewhat successful. But I was happy with the way things went tonight. We played well as a team.
Now, last night the Angels opened up the new baseball season, and today the Dodgers played their first game in Arizona. U.S. flags were prominently displayed in ballparks across the country today, thinking of the men in the Persian Gulf and women there. First inning, Brian Jordan rips a sharp single to left off Cy Young Award winner Randy Johnson. Sean Green scores the first run of the season. Dodgers take the lead. Now it's in the 6th inning, and it's Jordan again. This time he takes the big unit out of the yard for a 2-run homer. That put the Dodgers in front by a comfortable margin now of 3-0. And it was more than enough for Hideo Nomo, who goes the distance, pitching a complete game shutdown. Dodger management really has to be happy. The Blue Crew winning the opener 8-0. Opening day was not a good one for the New York Yankees. In the third inning of their game in Toronto, Derek Jeter goes headfirst into third base and gets smashed by Jays catcher Ken Huckabee. Jeter dislocated his shoulder on the play. He'll be out of action for at least 2 weeks. The Yankees went on to win the game by a score of 8-4. In hockey, the Kings are playing out the string, but they showed plenty of spunk in Phoenix tonight. We're tied at 4 in overtime when Joe Corvo sets up Steve Kelly for the game winner, and the Kings win it by a score of 5-4. College football, UCLA will begin spring practice on Wednesday under new head football coach Carl Durrell. In other UCLA news, the school has confirmed that Pittsburgh basketball coach Ben Howland interviewed with athletic director Dan Guerrero over the weekend in Santa Barbara. Howland is considered to be the leading candidate to replace Steve Lavin as the Bruins' next head basketball coach. Don't forget, my friends, Saturday is the Final Four right here on CBS2. We started at 3 o'clock with Marquette going against Kansas. Then at 5:30, it's Texas against Syracuse. Of course, Sports Central will follow with all of the games, with all the highlights and post-game interviews. And that's a look at sports for the 11 o'clock hour, folks.
Oh, man, that's something. I tell you, this March Madness
is
all
getting
the way
crazy.
Down to the
It is exciting. Thanks, Jim. The latest information on Operation Iraqi Freedom is next. 3,000 bombs over 3 days. The result, the Pentagon says Iraqi forces have been significantly weakened.
Here's the very latest tonight. More airstrikes. B-1, B-2, and B-52 bombers hit at communication and command centers in Baghdad.
In the Gulf, a jet slid off the USS Constellation and the 2 pilots ejected and they were rescued.
70,000 reinforcements are now heading to the region.
The Red Cross is visiting thousands of Iraqi POWs held by Allied forces. No word yet on when they will see American POWs.
Confirmed U.S. troop casualties from the war. 44 dead, 7 captured, 16 missing.
And that is it for us. We know you have many choices for news. We thank you for choosing CBS 2.
And don't forget to watch CBS 2 News this morning, starting at 5 a.m. for the latest on Operation Iraqi Freedom. And remember, Dave is back next on The Late Show. Have a good night, all.
Bye.